It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Kink Consultant Podcast. I am joined in person by possibly the most special guest we're ever going to have. This is my mother, Angela.
Hello.
Welcome to the Kink Consultant Podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Forcing you to be here.
Well, I didn't want to be rude about it, but yeah, forcing me.
So there's a couple of reasons I wanted to bring you on. Number one, you are a huge influence, and I think why I'm so open-minded. I've done videos about how your sex ed when I was a kid was very much like condoms in the pill, and it was not shaming about sex. In a large part, you are possibly the reason I have no problem getting on the internet and talking about my sex life. How does that make you feel?
I was only doing what I just thought was right as a mother.
You didn't have big aspirations of your daughter talking publicly about her own sex life?
No, because I didn't think that far ahead. I just thought when you were a teenager, I just wanted you to know what your options were. And there was no shame in what you did. And you could come to your mother anytime you wanted to. Feel comfortable telling me what was going on in your life.
I love that. Okay, for context, let's give some history, not our history, like your history. Where were you born?
I was born in Sligo in Ireland in 1962.
So you grew up in 60s and 70s Ireland.
Yes.
What was the sex education you got?
Zilch. I went to, well, it was an all-girls school, which it was all the time in that stage. There was no mixed schools. So you were taught by nuns, and a nun giving you sex education. I mean, what did they know about it?
I was going to say, sure, what would they know?
Absolutely nothing. I think it must have been about 12 or 13 when they just passed through the whole thing, and the girls that I was with were just laughing. I just remember we were all thinking, what the hell? And we were just laughing and skitting because one thing we were kind of embarrassed because we'd never talked to anyone about sex. It never
Did you
came
know
up.
what sex was?
I did, because it was more of a skit thing with friends on what, when you're talking to your friends and this is what you do. Can you imagine doing this? Or, but at 13, living in Ireland, there was nobody that had sex. There was no TV. The pill wasn't even there. I remember when the pill was first introduced. In Ireland. Yeah, I remember that.
Were people going nuts? Because it was a really Catholic country, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, but it was a kind of a taboo thing. You wouldn't talk about it, but you'd overhear conversations about it, adults talking about it.
Yeah.
Because when you were my age, at that age, the adults would come in, the neighbors would come in, the women, and the kids were always shoved out, and they would be talking. Of course, I was nosy when I'd be under the window listening to see what people were saying.
I was nosy like that too. Yeah. So this is where I get it from.
Probably. I would listen to what they were saying. Didn't always get what they were talking about, but it was mostly just gossip and stuff. And I remember when the pill came up, and there was kind of shock that this was going to be introduced. But then at the end of the day, people were delighted. It was coming, women were anyway. So that's my first introduction.
And you come from a big family too, right?
Well, most people did at that time.
So it wasn't abnormal to have a big family?
Oh, God,
how
no.
How many children were there?
There were 6 kids.
And was that a normal size?
Oh, yeah.
Irish family in the 60s and 70s.
There was kids. I knew a family that was 13 of them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. 13 kids. I knew a family that the mother and the daughter were pregnant at the same time.
Oh my God.
Our neighbor.
I guess that happens now too, but not.
Yeah, but not at that. That was just normal. You had kids when you were 20, and the mother could be pregnant at the same time. So
thank you for answering all of those questions. So I think that it was amazing that someone who grew up in Ireland and moved to the States when they were 20 had so much, I don't know, such an open mind about it all, and just always said condoms and the pill.
Yeah, but I moved to England for a while.
Oh, did England change things?
Oh, England was totally different. Okay. Yeah, it was a totally different. Well, I was very naive. So I was in England for 5 years, I believe. So you went into a school where it was a mixed school. So I was always kind of shy and shocked on what people said to the teachers and what they said to each other. So
were they sexy things, like sex?
Not always, but they were a lot more open than they were coming from Ireland.
They were?
Oh, yeah, way more open on things.
That makes sense. So when I was 11, my mom moved me and my sisters to Ireland, which was an interesting experience, one that I didn't appreciate at the time, but I do now. But I remember I was viewed as a very loudmouth person. And it's sort of, then you play into it, because it's like if someone expects you to be a certain way, I feel like at least I was like, okay, I'll be the loudmouth.
You were the loudmouth because you stood up for justice for people.
I did.
Always did.
I was a curious and opinionated person, and I wanted people to know. So when I had sex in Ireland, when I was, oh, and I'd already had in America. That's the thing. At 9, they told us what sex was in school in
okay.
America. I do know what sex
You,
is.
you had sex at 12?
No,
Sex
sex
education?
ed. Did I say sex?
Yes.
Oh my
I was
God.
gonna say, why are we here?
Oh my God, that's so funny. No, when I had sex ed at 12, I asked the teacher if you could have sex on your period. She was visibly shocked. In fact, everyone was shocked. But then afterwards, people said that they were curious about that too. So they were glad I was asked. So I was a very
So you
sex ed in America at 9,
okay.
where they taught me like all of,
Okay.
but they taught about the X and Y chromosome. It was like, it
I
was a
remember,
lot.
'cause I had to sign a thing for you to learn about that.
And then I went to Ireland, and at 12, the teacher, it wasn't nuns teaching us
Yeah.
in primary school. I was in 6th grade. They taught us about more about your period and stuff. And it's weird because people were already on their periods at that stage. It was more about that than actual sex ed, but they talked about it. Ireland is a Catholic country still. The school had to teach Catholic doctrine, so they taught abstinence throughout high school. There was actually a girl pregnant in the back of the class during sex ed, and they were teaching abstinence. And I didn't know that. But do you know what they did make us do? I think this is shocking. They made us watch a video of an abortion.
Wow.
And they didn't ask you about that. And no one could leave. And she was pregnant. That girl was pregnant in the back there of class when they did that. And like, I guess it was, that was their propaganda to make people against it. Ironically, now it is legal in Ireland. It was illegal at the time, and people were traveling to England for it. And now it's legal there. And the United States is up in, I mean, Roe v. Wade was overturned, and now you can't get it past 6 weeks in a lot of states. Okay, I always say I was born kinky. What does that mean? I just mean I've always known I was different. I'm wondering, well, do you know what kink is?
Well, I can't really say I did know it to the extent I know about it now. But I knew you didn't. It was kind of like a taboo subject. And it kind of meant a bit, at that time too, kinky meant, oh, she's a bit weird, she's a bit funny.
A bit off.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't to do with sex, or did it?
No, not at that time. Not that I thought about it. It wasn't like that. As I think I mentioned to you before, the first thing I ever heard of kink was kinky boots,
Which is about men who like to dress as
up
women,
yeah.
and they want big size shoes.
Yeah. Now that movie must have come out in the late 70s or 80s, I would say. So at that time, I mean, I think things were just starting up to,
To be more open.
more open, and people were more accepting.
Like this stuff has always existed. It's just no one
Yes.
talked about it.
Nobody talked about it. No, it wasn't. It didn't enter my mind. They had no reason to enter my mind.
Yeah,
What
because
it
you
was.
weren't kinky. Are you kinky?
No, not a bit.
No, you're
No.
totally vanilla.
I would assume so, yes.
Does it bother you I ask questions like this?
No, because I'm so used to you asking me questions about different things anyway.
I
kind
know.
of expect them from,
From me?
yeah. And then if
What
I
about
had
your other daughters?
no, I would never talk to them like this. But not at all. I mean, if I ever had questions about relationships or sex, I would ask you.
Proof. We are
Yeah.
hearing it from the horse's mouth. I tell people this and they don't believe me. Like,
Really?
yes, that I used to give you advice.
Exactly. You used to.
I think we always grew up closer. I know we're mother-daughter, but do you feel like we had more of a friendship relationship than a mother-daughter relationship?
I do, because not because of me, because of you, because you
Oh.
wanted it more that way. You never called me mom or mammy or anything like that. You always called me Ange.
I did. Well, it
Yeah.
was a fight. It was a battle. I remember when it first started, I started calling you Aunt, and you're like, my name is Mom. And I just ignored that.
Yeah, so it was always kind of, your friends would even say, why do you call her
And
Ange?
people
Yeah.
still to this day are like, who's Ange? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, my mom.
So-
I was not comfortable with the power dynamic of you being a mother and me being a daughter. So I was like,
Probably
let's
not,
change
yeah.
this up. I've always had power. So we'll get into that. That did bother me. I feel like everyone's equal, and I didn't want,
A mother.
I just felt like I'm smart and in
Well,
charge
you were
too.
definitely smart, and you did have your opinions, and everyone knew what your opinions were, which was fine. I mean, I never stopped you having your
No, you
opinions.
didn't. You were very encouraging of it.
Always, yeah.
I did give you advice. Did you take it?
Probably not.
Why not?
Now, to be honest with you, I don't remember. I do remember I could talk to you about stuff or relationships, or when I got separated and I started dating, or I could come to you and ask you questions about it, and you'd give me a straight answer or whatever. But I just
My
felt more
first
comfortable.
client.
Yeah. God, you didn't charge me. I just felt that It was just easier to talk to you about these things. You know how you have certain people you can talk to and you find easy to talk to?
Yeah.
I could talk to you about that.
And that was always.
Always.
I
Yes.
was the easier one to talk to.
On stuff like that.
Was there stuff that
I'm not going to talk about my other girls, but there's different things you can talk to different.
So I did put out on Instagram that I was going to do this interview, and I did
Okay.
put out questions, and we did get one from your favorite daughter, and her question was, do you have a favorite daughter, or who is your favorite daughter? But we already know, as I said.
I keep telling, and every mother would be the same. You don't have a favorite child unless one child really goes off the walls and whatever.
Oh, then they'd be the least favorite.
It's not that. It's you have your children, you nurture your children. And for me, I can discuss and have a closeness with my three daughters that I'd have one with you.
With all of us are
Are
different.
differently.
Do you have a favorite? Because I have best friends. I have friends and I have best friends. Do you have a best friend daughter?
No, I don't have a best
Are you
friend.
lying?
I just said to you, you have best friends or what I can discuss with one daughter that I can't discuss with another daughter.
So
I
we're
am
all your best friends.
I'm close to all of you in different ways.
Okay.
Which one
Take
has
that
that?
favorite daughter. We all know who your favorite is. When I tell you, okay, like we won't say names, but so I'm the eldest of three.
Mhm.
When I tell you your favorite daughter reached out, who are we referring to? The youngest or the middle?
Well, see, you guys.
No.
You. My youngest one talks to me every day.
Oh, she's a mommy's girl.
She is not only that. Because I live in Ireland, you live here and whatever. She checks on me every day. I live on my own, so she checks where I am, what I do.
She's setting herself up to be the caretaker.
Well, I won't need caretaking.
Okay,
but
you won't.
no.
I'm trying to get her to move to Vegas, and she is not into it. Okay, so I say I was born kinky. Did you know that I was?
No.
Was I the weird one though? I felt like a weirdo. I've heard I was weird my whole life. Like you must have known I have a weird child.
No, you were not a weird child.
Really?
No, not at all. And I didn't know
Oh.
about this. I kind of learned this as you told me stuff, and I just took it on board. I would say, well, I'm not surprised at that. Why I think I wasn't surprised with that is because you were so outgoing. You were so forward in your thinking. Girls your age did not think like you. Yes, I knew that. You were more forward and more, you asked more questions.
Even than your other daughters?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that must have
Yeah.
been really annoying.
It wasn't because you were my oldest. I didn't know what to expect from the others.
Oh,
you
you're
know,
like,
so-
the others seemed easier. You're like, oh, they don't all do
well,
that.
maybe it wasn't easier, but I expected it along the line.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the only reason when you told me on stuff how you were living your life.
When you say that, what do you mean? How I was living my life? Be honest.
Well, when you first came to America, you worked in the job. I thought you were a hostess in a restaurant for the longest time, and then you actually told me what you did. I don't think I acted shocked.
No. So for anyone who hasn't listened to all of the other episodes, I was a dominatrix in a dungeon in New York City. I was moonlighting as that. Like I had a job at the Wall Street Journal, and then to make more money, I went there and did that. And I told you. And to her credit, you didn't say anything wrong with that.
No.
There was nothing wrong with that for you.
No, I mean, I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, you can be shocked.
I
That's a
was
shocking
shocked.
thing.
And then I had to process it. I think everyone processes things, but I never let you know that I didn't think it was a proper job or it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a bit.
That's
how do I
okay.
tell my
No.
friends that, you know. But
Luckily, you didn't have to.
No.
Years later, I sat down and recorded a podcast and told a bunch of people
Yes,
myself.
You did. And in my thing, here you are starting your business. I tell my friends, oh yeah, listen to
Oh,
me.
yes.
You know, I have some friends, well, people I work with, whatever. They say, oh yeah, you got to listen to my daughter. And the feedback I get back from them and saying, oh my God, they gave me a voice. I know I can do this. Or Amanda gave me great advice today and gives me encouragement. Honestly, people have said this to me.
That's
And
nice.
another funny thing I would say to people like, oh, my daughter's a kink and so, oh, I'm really into kink. You
No
know?
way.
Yeah. And I'm just
Shocked.
I'm shocked because I didn't. Well, first of all, it wouldn't have been a thing I would have really talked about beforehand but I was shocked, amazed in how many people do listen to you, and they always say, God, you're so cool listening to us. I says, well, I don't listen to them all anymore. There's some things I just don't need to know. But
there are things I recognize that. So this week, and I really appreciate you being so encouraging. I thought it was so funny. One of the reasons that I was like, I need to have her on the podcast was this week we were watching Landman. And in it, the 17-year-old girl tells her dad, And she's like, I have this sex rule. He's like, I don't want to ask, but what is it? And her rule was he can't come in me, but he can come anywhere on me. And I looked at you and I said, can you imagine if I said that to you at 17 and you looked at me and you said, and I don't want to know now, Mandy. Which I think was the first time I realized I was like, maybe I'm oversharing with my mother. Do you think I overshare?
No, not anymore, because you share with your audience and stuff like that. If I want to listen, I listen, but most of the time now I just
Don't listen.
I don't listen because I don't need the whole, not the shine. I don't need to know your whole sex life or what you're doing or
You don't?
no.
No, I'm kidding. So I told you in August or September about my work at the dungeon, and I came home that Christmas. And what did you do? That was the first time I saw you since I told you I was a dominatrix.
I don't remember what I did.
You don't? So every year you set up a Christmas village on the back of the baby grand's
yes.
piano. And
Yes.
when I got home, when I put my bags down, you said, please come look at the village. And what had you done?
I had put in a red light district just for you so that you feel comfortable.
In one of the little houses, you would put in a little red light, and that was
Oh no, there was a few of them.
no. I was being I felt that that was so accepting and really cute. I love that story.
Yes.
It's such a good memory I have of like the village was being represented.
And do you remember what happened the year after when it wasn't there?
No.
When I said to you, because the red lights broke, I told you the council shut us down.
Yeah. Good times. I know. And then I retired from my actual work as a dominatrix. And I had told you this, and you know now, I was not having sex with clients.
Yeah, but you told me that at that time too.
Yeah,
So.
we have some questions from the audience. We're getting into them, and you don't have to answer any of them, but we're going to go through them. What advice would you give other parents who struggle accepting their adult kids' kinks?
My advice is there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. You're not going to change their mind. They're going to do it. So you either just have to embrace it, which I suggest everyone does, embrace what their children do, unless it's murder somebody, of course, but
we draw the line at murder.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Well, we draw the line a lot of things. But if this is what they're into, if this is what makes them happy, they're safe. Every parent's thing is their first, like even with you, oh my God, are they safe? Is this a dangerous thing they're in? And once they're safe and they're happy, just let them do what they have to do.
That is such great advice. Yeah, I like it. Okay, I'm not surprised. Lots of people saying how beautiful you are, how you have great skin, how young you look. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take all compliments.
Yeah. One question that I hate, but I'm asking it anyways. Did she not spank you enough as a child? And I think that's a joke. But I do have a question. You know that my favorite kink is spanking. I told my mom last year. I told you that I was at a spanking party. I'm going to another one next month.
Okay.
And you laughed so hard. And I was like, oh yeah, this is one of those times I'm too open. Well, you were English, so you used the word smack. I remember that. But did you smack me as a child?
Yes, when you did get smacked. But I remember it was just when you passed by, I would just hit you, pat you. And, like it got to the stage where you knew there was something going to come, you'd run past me. But no, I didn't. I never smacked you like anything other than, maybe a clip around the
swat.
ears. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, swat, exactly.
Okay. All right. So there we have it. So it's definitely not from my childhood because a lot of people say it's from trauma. And I always argue that for some people it's trauma.
Yeah.
And then for other people, as I say about myself, I was born that way. Ooh, how did your mom get so great, as in open-minded and appreciative and loving?
I think it was just my nature.
I'd agree with that. That is your nature. There's 4 questions from the same person here. I'm going to say them out loud, but we don't have to answer any of them. What's your biggest kinks and fetishes? Are you a dom or a sub? Have you ever been with a woman? Do you like younger guys?
What was the first question?
What's your biggest kinks and fetishes?
I don't have one.
No kinks and fetishes. So that means you're not a dom or a sub.
No.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I don't even know which the dom and the sub is.
Oh my gosh, you're not listening enough to my content. The dom is the top, the one in charge who says you do this. And then the sub, so dom meaning dominant, sub meaning submissive.
Oh, okay.
All right. Do you like younger guys?
I've never really dated younger guys.
There was that guy that was 15 years younger, right? Wasn't he? But I think that's a regular age difference.
I don't think, it could be a regular, but it wasn't the fact they were younger or older. It was just how mature they were and how sensible they were.
Yeah, so age is just a number.
Age is definitely just a number.
What if I came home dating someone older than you?
I'd be jealous. I mean, the only thing that would worrying me in such a way. It depends on how you're progressing with this person. If it's somebody you were going to live the rest of your life with,
Yeah.
I'd be more worried at the fact that he's older. Your life is going to stop when he gets older. If there's kids, there's nobody around.
I'd be
They
raising them alone.
You'd be raising them alone, and they would be without a father that can. Not that that's a bad thing. I raised my 3 kids on my own, but you worry about these things. But for yourself, the only thing I would worry about is when you're with an older man and they're getting older and you're still young and vibrant. It can hinder, in my opinion. But then again, that's just to do with age. You know, age is just a number. It depends on the person.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, you can see how old are you now?
36.
36. So you're talking about somebody who would be in their 60s. How fit is that person? What do they do? You know,
Well, you're really fit.
I am, but I work on that.
Yeah.
You know, so, but there's other people that can't walk steps. So it depends.
Yeah. Okay. So,
age.
but that could be any age too.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Have you ever been with a woman?
No.
Have you ever wanted to be with a woman? No. Okay. So you're straight and vanilla. Okay. Yeah. Okay. How does one keep open-minded about these topics for future reference? Do you struggle to stay open-minded? Because life even now is so different from 30 years ago.
No, I don't struggle. I think it's easier now to be open-minded as long as you think to yourself, look, it's not going to affect me at the end of my day.
Yeah.
Let everyone do whatever they want. I don't care what they think or
Except
what they
murder.
Believe, except murder. Okay. Now, some cases. Okay. No, let everyone do what they like. It's not, if as long as it's not going to affect my day, I don't care what they do or what they're.
Very fair. Someone said that I'm wonderful and I'm so grateful. A friend of mine said that P.S. your daughter is wonderful and she's so grateful. And her question is, how do you feel the world treats you differently as a woman now versus 20 or 30 years ago?
My personal opinion, I think women are treated a lot worse now.
Really?
I do. At the time, okay, you know, the woman stayed at home, had their kids, and the husband went to work. That's how it was. And that to me was just how it was. Now I think with the murders and women are more open-minded. They can stick up for themselves more. But I do think there is a lot of abuse.
There is.
Always affected with women.
I agree with that.
So I do think women still have to be more careful. Women are still blamed for everything that happens in a relationship. They're looked, from my opinion, they're looked upon as, what was she doing? Did that happen to her? And I don't believe that's just in older people like myself. I think a lot of young people feel the same way. I listen to people at home talking about friends of theirs, and I'm absolutely shocked at how many of them would think the woman is wrong and the other person, the man in this case, were right. And you know, one particular case, somebody got divorced and they were out in the nightclub, and then a young girl in her 20s was there. She was out drinking and out with him, and I said, well, where was the husband? You know, where was the, you know? And I was actually shocked that people still think that
could be so judgy.
It's so judgy.
I agree with that. I was on a date recently, and this guy who had 3 different baby mamas, and he like wasn't staying around for them. And I said, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? And he's like, well, the women are enabling him. And that date, he actually recently messaged me and asked like why I didn't want to date him anymore. I was like, well, that was one of the reasons. You blamed the women for that. Each of those women did that once. He did that 3 separate times. And it's that imbalance that really bothers me about it. You're right. I agree.
Don't think men have as much empathy and don't understand it to this day. I mean, they got better. They got better in the time between my father and my ex-husband and, you know, my brothers, how they treated their wives and children. It did get better, but it's still not there. And it's still not there. As I said, I know young people that feel the same way. And I'm just shocked that they would still blame the girl because they went out and enjoyed themselves after the guy had
done something
wrong. So
as if we're all supposed to just fall over and die when something ends. Okay, that's a really good answer. It's a question for you about me. How much of a child brat were you, and do you think that informs anything about now? I think they're asking if I was a brat.
No, you were not a brat. You had your own opinion and you did your own thing. You didn't do anything wrong. You came home in the end of the evening. You lived your life to the fullest, I would have to say.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything horrible. You weren't horrible to people. I did worry about you, obviously.
Yeah.
There was things in your
Like
child.
that you worry about everyone, or what were
Um,
there things specifically? You can say them.
in school and stuff, there was a thing. I've been called down to the school how many times about
I know, but
you.
you only called about me once. You were actually
Well,
called a
I
lot.
mean, yeah, I was called a lot, but yours was pretty major.
Speaking about, I skipped school and there was some self-harm.
Yes,
Yeah, and
there
that,
was.
yeah,
And I had
that's
never
tough.
even heard. That was tough on me too. That was a very tough.
Well, I did not think it would be easy, but that's
Yeah, I was there with you. I took you to the doctors. I took you to appointments. I
a
was,
therapist.
yeah, I was there to help. I mean, I know sometimes I would get mad and think, why would you do this? But
I understand it's a lot to process.
it was a lot, and it wasn't the fear that you did something wrong. It was the fact that you were hurting yourself, which puts a parent, any parent, in pain too, that you would feel the need to do that.
Yeah. Do you know there's actually a lot of people who grow up to be submissive, sexually submissive, or kinky. They do self-harm. So I think there's a link there. Not that I can speak to it intelligently. I just know that it is very common. But these are things that you definitely don't know about your teenager. And it wasn't a sexual thing. It was very much
No.
linked to the depression that I
Yeah.
felt and just what gave me relief.
But what I would give advice to parents when they go across this stuff, you need to talk to people about it. You need to, for yourself, to let people know, and for other people to be aware. It does need to be addressed, but you have to be there for them. You can't.
Yeah, and you were there for me in a major way. Earlier in the conversation, we talked about you like listening under a window. I remember you being called for one of your other daughters to the high school. I don't know what happened, but I do remember this. I remember you yelling at the principal because you said it's not even that you were defending one of your daughters. You were basically like annoyed that one of your daughters was kind of getting in trouble and they weren't letting you know. And you were like, I told you if something happens, call me and I'll handle it. And I remember thinking, like, you're not actually going to do anything, but you sound like you're abusive. And I just thought that was really funny because you were like, I was like, they probably think now they're going to be scared to call you because they're scared for your daughter.
No, what I was saying at that time, okay, you have a problem with my daughter at school. Don't call me at the end when it's getting out of control for you. Call me at the beginning so I can actually see what is going on and be aware of it.
Yeah, no,
You
that's
know,
fair. That
it
was not,
wasn't,
I
it
just,
wasn't, you
I
know, I
always
couldn't
think of
do
that.
anything about anything if nobody told me about it. But in
Remember
all
that.
fairness, years later, when I was working somewhere, I met the secretary from your school.
Yeah.
And she came in and she said, hello, Mrs. Demashki. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry about the trouble my girls gave you down. She says, oh no, I loved it. I said, she said, they were the best students. They made stuff. They just made my life a lot more fun in school. So,
Oh, we weren't bad kids. We
no,
were
you were
interesting
not. You were
kids.
interesting, and it wasn't anything. You have to be, as a parent, you have to know what's going on in your child's life. Now, I didn't know about the kinky stuff, but
Well, yeah, that's fair. But I wasn't doing any,
you weren't doing anything.
I
You
didn't
weren't
lose
doing
my
any harm.
virginity until I was 17. So I wasn't
Well, I
even
told you
exploring.
18, but
No, you
anyway.
didn't. You said 16
Did I?
until you did say 16.
Okay.
And then I was like 12, 13, and I think you started to realize how close that was. Then you said 17, and then I was 17.
Oh yeah, because maybe I thought then, well, okay, be realistic about this stuff.
A question, has mom used any of your advice or recommendations in her own life?
No, I don't think so.
Do you find it easier to have influence or give advice as a friend or as a parent?
I would say you listen more as a friend.
Really?
But in saying that, as a parent, you can't just come out and give your advice. You can't say, well, I think you should do this, I should do that. And if you notice, I never say that.
No, you don't.
I would say, like, well, if it was me, this is what I would do, or this is how I handle things. So whether that's a parent or a friend, I would never upset or knowingly upset anyone by giving advice that they should take. And I think if you're a parent and it comes across that way, it is like your mother's telling you this and you're not going to do what your mother's going to say.
Yeah.
If you say it in a way you think about it, like I do, when somebody tells me something, I don't come straight out and answer it. I think about it and think, well, what's the best way of handling or
You
saying
do.
this to a person that is not going to offend them and not give them the parent kind of vibe?
That's a good point.
All I can do is say to you, like, this is how I would have handled this situation.
And also, I love when you say, when I say something or I have an emotion or reaction to something, you always say, that's understandable. Like, it's sort of like, it's like, oh, I see where you're coming from. Good question, good answer. I think you give great advice. And the older I get and the more I tell you about what's happening in my life, what's happening in my friend's life, I'm always shocked at how astute you are, how you just sum it up so quickly. You're like, I tell you something happens. You give examples of like, oh, they're doing this and then their boyfriend's doing this. And I'm like, yes, how do you know? And you just know. Why do you think you're so good at that?
I personally think it just comes from your intuitive to what people are saying. I think, honestly, I think it's a natural instinct, to
Yeah,
think from life experience, listening to other people and whatever you know. A lot of them is the same story.
that's true, I think.
It's the same story. It's happening to everyone, and the same thing is happening. It's just a different context, but it's always the same ending or the same
Yeah,
scenario that started. It's like watching a soap opera. Oh yeah, that happened in Days
yeah.
of Our Lives last week or last year, and this is, so it's just different people, same story.
Had you ever heard stories like mine?
Not the kink stuff.
No.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
Good
But
segue.
relationships, I
It's
find
similar.
it's
Yeah.
very similar.
Okay, but did your child show signs of kink as a child?
Not that I saw.
Not okay.
No.
It's a lot of people who share the same kinks as I do. What I did, I enjoyed playing house and someone being disciplined or someone being tied up. I created games like that, and that's a really common thing. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember
Okay.
those.
All right. Not that I played those games with you. The question I got from my friend, he thinks it's awesome that you're on the podcast, and he wanted to know, what do you hope my next partner will be like?
Gosh. The next partner I would like to for you and for
Yeah.
I think most men is somebody that's going to make you happy. Somebody's going to understand your way of life and is acceptable and accepting of what you do.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, that he's good to you and you're happy.
Those are good answers. Okay.
But that's what every parent should want for their child.
I agree, but a lot of parents want, back in the day, I feel like a lot of answers would be like, I hope they're wealthy and
No,
spoil you.
no, no, no.
I hope someone is wealthy and spoils me,
Well, I'm
but
sure you do, but that's not to say you're going to be happy at the end of the day.
no, that's
You need
true.
somebody that, I mean, I always thought I didn't care how much money I had as long as I was happy.
Yeah, and I want those things for you. So my mom is single. As you know, she's vanilla and straight. Well, this is what we've established, but she's very open-minded and fun.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
I hope I am.
Well, do you have any questions for me?
You answered a lot of questions when I did listen to your podcast, especially your first one and stuff like that. But no, I can see you're strong-minded. You have a goal in life
Yeah.
and you want to reach that goal. And I hope you do reach it. And I don't have any questions for you. I just hope you reach what you want.
Aw, that's so cute.
She knows she can tell me anything. And I tell people about her thing jokingly too. I remember I had people in where I work and they were talking about how great their children were and they were doing this and this one was a lawyer and this one was opening her business and all that. And I just turned to my friend and I said, do you think I should go up and tell them that my daughter's a kink consultant just in case anyone needs help with anything?
No, and I joke about it too. I joke about how I talk about my sex life on the internet.
Just be happy in what you do and be successful.
Yeah, just that. Just
Just-
just be successful. That's
Well,
all.
if that's what I wish for you.
Yeah, that's what I want.
But
too.
most of all, to be happy.
Yeah, and I think I am happy. I think that like anytime, and I think this is true of everyone, anytime you are living your life authentically, happiness follows.
I think so too. And everyone has their ups and downs in life. Life is not easy, as everyone knows, but
It's never easy, is it?
it's never easy.
Even when it's really good,
When
it's
it's
not
really
easy.
good, something will kick you in the face to bring you back down to reality
And you keep moving on.
and you keep moving on. You pick yourself up and go. I mean, I know what that sounds, but that is what you're doing, and I am so happy and so proud of you.
My
I'm very
mom's
proud
proud
of
of
my
me.
daughter.
That's what I
Yes.
brought her on. I just brought it on so we could all hear it. My mom is proud of me. I do actually get a lot of people who are like, oh, why are you involving your mom in this? I kind of think we answered it. The relationship, I think it's also different because from the age of 12 onward, it was just all of us girls.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a different family unit, just all girls, all going through different things.
But whoever said that, why are you involving your mom in this is because I consider myself a good mom and I want to know that I am there if I'm helpful and that if there's anything my daughter wants to come and talk to me about, they can. So that involves telling me what they're doing in life. I don't need to hear it from a neighbor. I don't need to hear it from somebody else.
That's how I
I
feel.
want to hear it from her and I want to know what's going on in her life.
And if there's anything particularly, I will call you. If there's
I-
anything particularly, I think shocking, I don't want you to hear it from a neighbor.
Exactly.
So I will just tell you directly so you know.
Yeah.
Your sister did, my aunt found out about me through just coming across my Instagram page though. Did she ever say anything?
No, she never did, but I did see that
I
thing,
had
and
a video.
it was very funny, I have to say. But I like that, and like my sister is very much like me, are there to be for their children. I mean, I think we're very much alike and stuff like that. No, she's more than me involved in their children's lives.
No, you really do let us just do our own
Do your
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you want to come and talk to me, I am there. And like, have to say, I think most parents should be. I don't judges. I just try and
No, you never judge. And I think that's why none of us are judgmental. Me and my sisters, not judgmental people. And I think it's because you taught us not to judge.
I'm making myself out to be the most wonderful mom in the world, but I really wasn't. I'm not.
Oh, really? What did you do wrong?
Well, I think there's always stuff you can do better. But
I think that too, but not about you specifically.
Yeah, but we've had our ups and downs and things I would have done differently, or
any that you actively wish you could have changed.
That's a good question. But I'm going to put that on you. Is there things I could have done that would have changed things for you that you think I could have done better?
No, none that I actively think about. I used to get really annoyed when you would try it. It's so unfair. It's like you try and be a mom. I don't know why I still hold on to this, but like normal things when you'd be like, do your homework, because I always did. I never didn't do those things. So when you would tell me, I just would get annoyed at you telling me, but that's like good parenting.
That was probably because just I wanted to make sure I didn't have to help you.
No, I was 14. There was no helping me.
There was no helping me. No, there was no helping you guys.
I'm not the type of person who focuses on the past and what could have been different. I really don't have anything like that. But is there anything you see in the way I am in life now that you think you directly contributed to?
No, I don't think I did. And then sometimes I used to think you didn't realize what I did when I moved to Ireland and that stuff. You don't realize how much that was the right thing to do.
Oh, I do. No. I think, no, you're right. At 11, when
Yeah.
all of my friends were on AIM and like American chatting and going to NSYNC concerts, and you moved us to, like, it wasn't rural Ireland, but it was a town of 8,000 people at the time, which everyone knows my graduating high school class was 80 people. That's small. It's small for a lot of my American friends. When they tell me they're from a small town, I'm like, I think I'm from a smaller one.
Yeah, it was tough, but it had to be. I needed to do that.
No, I understand.
For you. Not that you guys did anything bad, but it needed to be done for you to survive. And I have to say, live the life you led.
We did live a really good life.
Yeah, I mean, there was times, I remember when you were doing your junior cert or even cert, I don't know which one, you went off to a concert up in Dublin for the night before. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do remember I did. I went to see Metallica. It was very important for me to go see Metallica, and I did. In hindsight, as an adult, of course, I see it and I appreciate it a lot because I don't feel I missed out on anything that I couldn't catch up on. But when I moved back to the States, it was a culture shock how different Ireland was.
Was it different? Did it make your life more worse?
It didn't make it worse, but it's hard to be the odd one out, I think, you know, so I was different. I've always felt different. I've always felt like a weirdo because of like various different things. I've always felt a little bit different, but then to move to Ireland and be the American girl, which actually worked really well in very many scenarios.
I was going to say
the American girl, but I just think it was othering. It's like, oh, they're the Americans. I remember the teachers being in front of us and wondering like, oh, will our math be good enough? Because American schools are not known for their math.
But in saying that, yes, I know they were saying American schools, but my God, you used to come home with stories and you would say, we did this last year. When you were in sixth class,
which is sixth grade, but it's called fifth class in Ireland.
You had the stuff you did in the sixth grade in that school, you had already done 2 years beforehand.
That's because my mom, dedicated to our Catholic education, made sure we were always in private school. I had Catholic teachings.
Can you believe that? Catholic upbringing?
I mean, well, the Catholic Church and the teachings I got could directly contribute to some of this. But that's a story for another time. Okay, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. I love you, and I'm proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm exactly the same with you, Amanda. And you know that.
I know, I do. I'm really lucky. All right. Thanks, everyone. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.